They will tell you it is about borders, missiles, and airspace. They will tell you it is about politics and security, but beneath the roar of the warplanes and the blaze of the explosions, there is something older, darker, and far more intimate at play. Conflict, you see, is never just about land. It is about the invisible forces that live inside men's minds, shaping their choices long before a shot is fired. It is the ancient dance between fear and pride, love of one's own and hatred of the other, a dance that has been choreographed for centuries in the hidden chambers of the human psyche. The headlines will report the strikes, the retaliation, the death toll. But behind every blast is the mind of a man who believes he is right. And behind that belief is a story planted into him, nurtured in him, until it became a truth so unshakable that he would die for it, and take others with him. This is the theater where leaders play the role of saviors and executioners at the same time, where nations speak in the language of defense, while writing their messages in fire across the skies of their enemies. When Israel bombs Lebanon, it is not only a strategic move, it is a statement of dominance, a reminder to its adversaries that the skies above them are never truly theirs. When Hezbollah responds, when Iran moves its pieces on the board, they are not merely answering in kind. They are speaking the ancient language of revenge, a language older than peace treaties and UN resolutions. Every missile, every drone, every strike is a word in that language, and the world watches as sentences are written in blood. But the human mind cannot resist the story of a victim who becomes a fighter, of the underdog who rises against the giant. This is where the manipulation begins. Not in the propaganda posters, not in the speeches on state television, but in the quiet, unspoken agreement between leader and citizen. We are the good, they are the evil. Once that seed is planted, the human heart will water it with rage until it grows into a tree strong enough to support an entire war. And yet, here is the truth no one dares to face. Each side believes the same thing. Each side calls the other the aggressor. Each side claims the moral high ground, and the battlefield becomes a mirror. One that reflects not who the enemy is, but who we are when we strip away compassion and surrender to the shadow inside us. If you look closely, you'll see that this war, like all wars, is not only fought in cities, on borders, in skies. It is fought in the mind first. It is the invisible battlefield where fear becomes anger, anger becomes justification, and justification becomes action. The bombs are the physical echo of a war already won or lost in the mind long before the first siren wails. So ask yourself, when you hear of these strikes and responses, are you watching nations clash? Or are you watching the most primal human instincts dressed in the uniform of modern politics? Because if you understand the mind, you will understand the war. And if you understand the war, you will understand that it is not just out there, it is in here. They say war starts with a bullet, but I'm telling you, it starts long before that. It starts when fear takes root in the mind, when a thought is planted so deep it becomes a belief you can't shake, even if the truth is standing right in front of you. Before the smoke rises, before the alarms scream through the streets, the battle is already raging inside. That's where the real fight begins. You see, a man doesn't wake up one morning and decide to destroy another man's world without first convincing himself that it's the right thing to do. And once the mind is convinced, the body will follow. That's why some wars feel like they never end, because they're being fought over and over in people's heads, even in times of so-called peace. Look at what's happening now. Israel strikes Lebanon, the ground shakes, the sky burns, and the world reacts. But the truth, that strike was only the echo of something older, something invisible that had already been building. Distrust, resentment, anger, and Hezbollah's response, Iran's move, they're not just random acts. They're the natural result of a seed planted long ago, growing in silence, waiting for the right moment to bloom into chaos. You can drop bombs, you can level buildings, but you can't bomb away the belief that someone is your enemy. That belief lives in the mind, and the mind will always find a way to act on it. That's why the most dangerous battlefield isn't made of dirt or concrete. It's made of thought. That's where strategies are born, where grudges are fed, where fear gets dressed up as righteousness. And here's the thing, the mind doesn't just hold on to fear. It shapes it, sharpens it, passes it down. Generations inherit wars this way, not through land disputes alone, but through the stories told at kitchen tables, the lessons whispered to children, the quiet warnings exchanged in the dark. By the time those children grow up, they're already soldiers in a fight they didn't start, carrying a weapon called belief. And belief, when it's mixed with pride and pain, can move armies. It can make a man see an act of aggression as an act of justice. It can make a nation see a strike not as an option, but as an obligation. That's why you can't talk about ending war without talking about the mind. You can sign treaties, shake hands for the cameras, but if the heart is still holding on to that enemy image, if the mind still needs to win an invisible battle, then the war isn't over. It's just waiting. So when we watch the news, when we hear about strikes and counterstrikes, we can't just look at the smoke. We've got to look at the thoughts that lit the fire, because until those change, the headlines won't. Now let me ask you, are we truly ready to confront the war in our own minds, or are we just waiting for the next strike to remind us it's still there? And that's where we stand right now, in a world where the loudest noise is not the bomb, but the echo of an idea. The battlefield has shifted. It's not just out there in the hills of Lebanon, in the streets of Gaza, or in the skies over Tel Aviv. It's in here, in the mind of every man, woman, and leader who believes their pain justifies their action. You can see it in the eyes of those who command armies, and in the hearts of those who bury their dead. Every war begins as a whisper in the mind before it becomes a roar in the streets. When Israel launches a strike, it's not just a military move, it's a message. When Hezbollah or Iran answers, it's not only about retaliation, it's about rewriting the story in their own voice. And every citizen, every fighter, every leader is caught in a cycle so old, they can't tell where it started or how to end it. The truth is, most don't even want to end it, not in their minds, because for some, the war gives them identity. Without the enemy, who are they? Without the fight, what do they stand for? See, that's the tragedy of human history. We've built weapons to destroy nations, but we haven't learned how to disarm the thoughts that make us use them. We've mastered the art of winning battles, but we still don't know how to win peace in the heart. That's why these conflicts repeat like an endless drumbeat. It's not about who's stronger. It's about who's willing to let go of the story that demands an enemy. And right now, very few are willing. But let me tell you, these wars are not just fought with missiles and drones. They are fought with the stories we tell ourselves. And if those stories remain unchanged, the war will continue to reinvent itself, wearing new uniforms, flying new flags, but carrying the same hatred in its core. That's why the most dangerous thing in this world isn't a nuclear weapon. It's a human mind convinced that violence is the only way forward. We have to face a hard truth. Peace will never come from the hands of those who see their enemy as less than human. It will never come from leaders who need the war to stay in power. And it will never come from citizens who allow themselves to be fed a single version of the truth without questioning it. If we want peace, we must go to war, not with each other, but with the beliefs that keep us apart. That's the war worth fighting. And you, yes, you watching right now, you're not powerless in this. Don't think you're just an observer, because you're not holding a rifle or sitting in a government seat. You've got the most dangerous weapon of all, the power to choose what you believe, what you share, what you accept as truth. You can feed the cycle, or you can break it. You can pass down the poison, or you can cut it off here and now. So the next time you hear about a strike, about a retaliation, about yet another necessary act of war, ask yourself who wrote that story, who benefits from you believing it, and most importantly, are you ready to challenge it? Because history isn't written only by those in power. It's written by the countless small decisions made by people like you, people who decide whether to believe the story they're given or to question it, whether to fuel the fire or help put it out. That's where real change starts. Not in conference rooms, not on battlefields, but in the quiet space between your ears, where your truth is built. So I'm asking you, what will you choose? Will you be another echo in the cycle, repeating the same justifications that have kept humanity in chains for centuries? Or will you be the break, the disruption, the one who says, enough? The world doesn't change when leaders sign papers. It changes when ordinary people decide they will no longer be led by fear. If you feel this message, if you understand that the war in the mind is the war that decides all others, then speak on it. Share it. Let others know that the real battlefield is here and now. Because the more people see that truth, the harder it becomes for lies to grow in silence. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you believe the war in the mind is more dangerous than the war on the ground? And if so, what are you willing to do to end it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Hit that like button if you're ready for a change, and make sure you subscribe so we can keep having these conversations. Because if we're going to break the cycle, we've got to face it together.